Hello and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into a topic that hits home for every single one of us, both at work and in our personal lives: change. It's this constant force, right? But really understanding it, well, that's the key to navigating it like a pro.
You know that old saying, right? That the only things you can count on are death and taxes. But this quote absolutely nails it. There's a third one we have to add to that list. Change isn't an if, it's a when. It's just part of the deal.
So let's get right into it. If change is so predictable, why is it so incredibly hard to deal with sometimes? Why does something that we know is coming often feel so overwhelming? That's the big question we're going to unpack together. To answer that, we've got to start with us, with people. Because change isn't just a new process or a different strategy on a PowerPoint slide. Nope, it's an emotional journey. It's a real roller coaster. And you know, our first instinct is usually to dig in our heels and resist. I mean, if you've ever worked in an office, this probably sounds all too familiar. When a big change is announced, it doesn't just land as an email in your inbox. It hits you with this wave of doubt, this fog of uncertainty, and for a lot of people, just a straight-up fear of what's coming next. It's really unsettling. And here's what's so interesting. Those fears get really specific, really fast. It's not just some vague anxiety. It's a list of very direct, personal questions that start racing through our minds. Am I going to lose my job? Will I get pushed aside? Do I have to learn a whole new set of skills just to stay relevant? These are totally real, totally valid concerns that really fuel that resistance we feel.
So how in the world do we get through all this internal chaos? Is there, a map for this kind of territory? Well, turns out, yeah, there is. It's called the coping cycle, and it's a seriously useful tool for understanding our own reactions and, just as importantly, the reactions of everyone around us.
So this cycle breaks our whole journey down into 5 pretty predictable phases. It all kicks off with denial. Then we move into defense. We hit this major turning point at discarding, then it's on to adaptation, and finally, we land at internalization. Let's walk through what each of these really feels like.
Okay, so we start in phase 1, denial. This is that initial shock, right? That no way, this can't be happening stage. And you'll hear this exact phrase all the time. But we've always done things this way. It's just a natural defense mechanism, a way of protecting ourselves from a new reality before we're really ready to deal with it.
From there, we slide into phase 2, defense. At this point, reality is starting to creep in, but we're still trying to protect our turf. We might admit the change is happening, but we fight against it applying to us. You'll hear things like, yeah, that's a nice theory, but it'll never work in my department. We're basically just trying to build walls to keep the change out.
Now we're at the big one, the crucial turning point, phase 3, discarding. This is the pivot. It's that really tough moment of acceptance where we finally stop fighting the current and decide, okay, might as well start swimming. Our thinking shifts to, all right, this is happening. What do I do now? This is where we consciously begin to let go of the past. And this quote just perfectly captures the next stage, adaptation. Once we've decided to move forward, we jump into this period of trial and error. We're messing around, we're learning, we're trying to find our balance in this new world. Just like the slide says, we're trying to get the new X to work. It can be messy, a little frustrating, for sure, but it is real, tangible progress.
And finally, we get to internalization. This is the finish line. The change is no longer the new thing. It's just the way things are. It's become so normal, so integrated into our work that we're actually thinking about how to improve it, like bringing it up in a review. At this point, the emotional journey for this particular change, it's complete.
Okay, so having a map for the emotional journey is huge. But here's the thing. It's also super important to get that not all change is created equal. The size and the scope of the journey you're on, that matters a lot.
We can kind of think about change on a spectrum. On one end, you have what's called developmental change. These are the small tweaks, the incremental improvements, like upgrading a process to meet a new standard. Important, yeah, but you can handle them in your day-to-day. But on the other end of the spectrum, you've got the big one, transformational change. This is the stuff that's truly disruptive, a fundamental shift in how you do business, like when new tech comes along and just changes the entire game.
Now, we can get even more precise. Let's start with what's called a closed change. This is the most straightforward kind. Picture a software bug that's been found. There's a ton of certainty. We know what happened, we know why it happened, and we know exactly what patch needs to be deployed to fix it. The path forward is crystal clear, and you can plan it out step by step.
Next up, we have contained change. This is a step up in complexity. Let's say your company needs to open a new office in another city. You've got a pretty good idea about what needs to be done. Find a space, hire people, set everything up. The general direction is clear. but you know there are going to be more variables and a few surprises you'll have to deal with along the way.
And then there's open-ended change. This is the most complex territory of all. Think about something like the rise of AI right now. For a lot of industries, there's major disagreement about what's really happening, what it means for the future, and what on earth needs to be done about it. You can't just write a detailed 5-year plan for this stuff. The future has to be discovered by doing, by experimenting, and by learning as you go.
So, understanding the emotions and the different types of change, that's powerful stuff. But the final piece of this whole puzzle is about shifting our own mindset, about moving from feeling like a victim of change to becoming an agent of it.
And that right there brings us to the ultimate goal for any team or any company. It's not just about surviving change. It's about getting everyone, the entire workforce, mobilized and moving in the same direction, towards that shared vision on the horizon. It's about turning all that disruptive, chaotic energy into a united force for progress.
So, how do you actually do that? You do it by building what's called a learning organization. This is a culture where people aren't just expected to adapt to change, they are actively encouraged to be innovative, to think outside the box, to bring their ideas to the table, and to see change as a constant chance to learn and grow. It's about building an organization that actually thrives on change, not one that just puts up with it.
Which brings us to our final thought. The world is changing faster than ever. We've looked at the emotional roller coaster, we've broken down the different types of change, and we've talked about the mindset it takes to lead through it all. So the only question left is for you. Are you ready to lead the journey?